He found her in the desert, half dead. Eli Mercer hadn't planned to ride the East Wash that day. The morning had started like any other, sun sharp in the sky, a list of chores running through his head, the steady clink of fence wire in his saddlebag. But the sky told him different. Buzzards were circling, slow and patient, black marks against a pale, washed-out blue. They weren't over the hills where cattle grazed. They were turning lazy loops above the dry cut of the wash. Eli pulled his mare to the side, scanning the distance. Out here, nothing good ever came from buzzards. The air was thin, the kind of heat that pressed down without mercy. Every step the mare took sent little puffs of dust curling up from the ground. The sound of her hooves echoed off the walls of the wash as they descended. Halfway down, he saw her. At first, she looked like a bundle of cloth thrown from a wagon. No movement, no sound. The sand had drifted up around her legs. One arm was outstretched, fingers curled toward nothing. Eli swung down and crouched. Her skin was pale beneath the film of dust. Her hair, what he could see of it, was tangled and matted with grit. Her hat lay a few feet away, brim bent from the wind. Then she moved. Just a small turn of her head, like she was trying to find the sound of him. Her hand shot out, catching the front of his shirt with surprising strength. "Don't take me back," she whispered. The words were barely there, but they carried weight. "Back where?" he asked. Her eyes opened a fraction, pale, sharp, and unsettled. They shifted to the horizon, scanning it the way you look for a storm. To him. The mare flicked her ears, restless. Eli glanced over his shoulder at the empty stretch of desert. Whoever him was, she thought he could come from any direction. "Here," Eli said, taking his canteen from the saddle. "Drink." She hesitated a moment, watching him, then sipped slow. It was the kind of drinking that said she was measuring every swallow, afraid the water might stop before she was ready. "You got a name?" he asked. "Mara." "All right, Mara. Can you stand?" She shook her head. "Not steady." "I'll carry you." For a moment, her grip on his shirt tightened, like she was weighing whether to trust him. Then she let go. Eli slid an arm under her shoulders, another under her knees, and lifted. She was light, too light. The heat had worked on her for a while. He set her in the saddle, swung up behind, and eased the mare forward. The ride back was quiet, except for the creak of leather and the soft thud of hooves on sand. Mara kept glancing over her shoulder, scanning the empty land. "You expecting someone?" Eli asked. Her gaze stayed on the horizon. "He'll come." "Who?" She didn't answer. The wash gave way to open scrubland. In the distance, the rooftops of town shimmered in the heat. By the time they reached Main Street, the sun had gone copper, throwing long shadows from the buildings. Sheriff Aide Barlow was leaning against the post outside the Mercantile, talking with old Larrabee and the barber. They all turned as Eli rode in. He didn't stop. Took her straight down the street to the clinic. Dr. Lila Ames looked up from her desk when the door opened. "What happened?" "Found her in the East Wash," Eli said. "Needs rest and water." Lila moved fast, helping Mara onto a cot, setting out a clean cup, pressing a cool cloth to her forehead. "How long were you out there?" Lila asked. Mara shook her head. "Don't know." "Any idea how you ended up?" "Fell," Mara said quickly. "That's all." Lila looked from her to Eli. Eli said nothing. When Lila stepped into the back room for more water, Mara leaned toward him. "Don't tell him I'm here." Eli frowned. "Who?" "My husband." Eli studied her. "Why not?" Her eyes locked on his. "Because if he finds me, you'll wish you hadn't brought me in." Before Eli could ask more, Lila returned and began fussing with the blankets. Eli left after a while, but he didn't go far. He sat on the bench outside the clinic, hat brim low, watching the street. The light was fading, but the heat still clung to the boards under his boots. The town was quiet, just a few folks drifting between the saloon and the mercantile, the sound of a hammer from the livery. But Eli couldn't shake the image of Mara's eyes scanning the horizon. He went home, cooked a quick meal, but didn't have much appetite. The night air was cooler, carrying the smell of dry sage. He was just stepping onto the porch when he heard the distant rhythm of hooves. One rider, steady pace, coming from the north. Eli stood still until the sound faded past the ridge, heading toward town. At dawn, he saddled up early and rode back in. The streets were still and dusty, morning light spilling across the fronts of the buildings. Then he saw the black horse tied outside the mercantile. Tall, restless, powerful. The kind of animal you only see under a man who knows exactly where he's going and doesn't plan to be stopped. A man in a long trail coat stood by the hitch rail, talking to Sheriff Barlow. Broad-shouldered, dark hair under a wide brim hat, a way of standing that said the ground belonged to him. Mara had been right. By morning, her husband had ridden into town. The first thing Eli noticed was how quiet the street had gone. The mercantile door was propped open, but Larrabee wasn't outside on his usual stool. The barber's chair sat empty. Somewhere behind him, a shutter closed with a slow creak. Eli dismounted, tying his mare at the post. Across the street, Sheriff Aide Barlow stood with the man in the long trail coat. The black horse beside him was bigger up close, muscle in every line, its ears flicking with quiet alertness. Eli didn't need an introduction. The way the man stood, feet planted, coat hanging loose, eyes steady, told him everything he needed to know. This was Caleb Holt. He walked straight over. "You're here for Mara," Eli said. Caleb turned his head, giving Eli a slow once-over. His voice, when it came, was smooth, but held a weight under it. "You've seen her." "Maybe." "Not maybe." Caleb's eyes narrowed just enough to make his point. "She doesn't want to see you," Eli said. "That's not yours to decide." "It is, if she asks." Caleb's jaw tightened, though the rest of his face stayed calm. "You picked a side awful fast." "Some things don't take long." Aide cleared his throat. "Caleb, Eli, let's keep this decent." Caleb looked past Eli, scanning the buildings. "Where is she?" Eli didn't answer. Caleb's smile didn't reach his eyes. "All right, I'll find her myself." He started toward the clinic. Mara must have seen him coming through the window, because when Eli pushed inside, she was already standing, Lila beside her. "He's here," Eli said. "I know," Mara replied. "You can stay here," Lila offered. "I'll tell him—" "No," Mara cut in. "He'll come in anyway." Footsteps sounded on the porch boards. The door swung open. Caleb stepped in like he'd been here before, hat in hand. "Mara." She didn't answer. "I've been riding 3 days," he said. "Figured I'd find you at our place. Instead, here you are." "I'm not going back." His eyes flicked to Eli. "You think this is about him?" "This is about me," Mara said. "You've said that before." "This time, I mean it." Caleb took one step forward. "You'll change your mind." "No," Mara said. The sheriff's voice came from the doorway behind him. "You two want to talk. Do it somewhere else. Not in here." Caleb glanced at Aide, then back to Mara. "I'll give you until morning. Then I'm leaving. If you're not with me, I'll come take you." He walked out, the black horse carrying him down the street at an unhurried pace. Silence filled the clinic once he was gone. Lila turned to Mara. "You could have told me you were married to Caleb Holt." "You know him?" Eli asked. "Everybody knows him," Lila said. drives cattle, takes contracts, wins every fight, in or out of the saddle. Mara sat down, her hands twisting in her lap. He's not here for a conversation, Eli. If I'm still in town tomorrow, there'll be trouble. Not if you're gone, Eli said. Gone where? He knows every trail. Eli left the clinic, but he didn't like the weight in his chest. He walked the street, watching Caleb. The man didn't act like someone chasing his wife. He acted like someone who already knew the outcome. He sat in the saloon for a drink, bought supplies at Larrabee's, checked his horse's tack at the smithy. Everything slow, deliberate. By evening the sun was dropping low when Sheriff Barlow found Eli outside the livery. You planning to keep her at your place? Aide asked. Didn't know I was. She won't stay with Lila. Says she's in the way. You've got room, and you're already in it, whether you like it or not. Eli looked down the street. All right. Mara came to his place after dark. She had a small satchel and the same determined look she'd had in the wash. You sure about this? Eli asked. No, but it's better than waiting in town. They ate quietly. She said little, only once asking, Do you think he'll come tonight? No, Eli said. He'll wait until morning. He said so. Caleb doesn't always say what he means. Eli gave her the spare room. He didn't sleep much himself, staying in a chair by the window. Around midnight, the sound came. Distant hooves, just one horse. It stopped somewhere out in the pasture. He could see the shape against the lighter sky. Caleb Holt, sitting the black horse like a man with all the time in the world, watching the house. He stayed there until the first hint of light touched the ridge. Then he turned the horse and disappeared into the land. By the time Eli stepped outside, Mara was already on the porch. He was here, she said. I know. She wrapped the shawl tighter. Then, morning's going to come fast. The sun wasn't up yet when Eli stepped outside. The air had that cool weight to it that meant the day would turn hot soon enough. Somewhere in the dark, a meadowlark called once, then went quiet. Mara was already on the porch, shawl wrapped around her shoulders, eyes fixed on the ridge. You didn't sleep, Eli said. Neither did you. No point. They stood in silence a while. Then she said, He's not one for idle threats. If he said morning, he meant it. Eli nodded. They heard the hooves first, slow, steady. Coming from the ridge, each step deliberate, like a drum beat you couldn't stop hearing. Caleb Holt appeared in the pale light, the black horse moving with an easy, unhurried gait. He didn't speed up when he saw them. He didn't slow down either. At the gate, he dismounted, looped the reins over the post, and walked forward. Boots on hard earth. The sound was small, but it carried. You ready? He asked Mara. I told you yesterday. You were tired yesterday. A night's rest changes people. It didn't change me. Caleb's gaze shifted to Eli. You plan on standing there all day? If I need to. That's not wise. Maybe not. Caleb studied him, eyes level and unreadable. You think you know what you're standing for? I know enough. He turned back to Mara. You think he can keep you? You think that lasts? I'm keeping myself, she said. The corner of Caleb's mouth twitched. Not a smile. More like a reflex he didn't mean to show. He took one step closer. You've always come back, he said. Not this time. People don't change that much. Some do, she said. For a moment, no one spoke. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of dry sage. Caleb let out a slow breath. All right then, I'll give you until I count 10. Then you walk to that horse. I'm not going, Mara said. 1. Eli's jaw tightened. 2. Mara didn't flinch. 3. Stop, Eli said. 4. That's enough, Eli told him. 5. Caleb's tone didn't shift. Eli took a step forward. You're done counting. Caleb's gaze hardened. You want her, you take what comes with her. She's not something to take. For the first time, Caleb's voice sharpened. You think this is about ownership. It's about promises. Maybe she doesn't owe you any more. That's not your choice. No, Eli said. It's hers. The air between them felt like it could break. The black horse shifted at the gate, stamping once. Finally, Caleb stepped back. You've made it clear. He turned, mounted in one smooth motion, and wheeled the horse toward the open land. But before he rode off, he said, This isn't done. When I come back, I won't come alone. The quiet after he left felt heavier than the moment before he arrived. Mara exhaled, the tension in her shoulders dropping only a fraction. You made it worse. Maybe, but he's not here now. That's not the same as gone. Sheriff Barlow came by before noon, dust on his boots. He's heading west, the sheriff said. That where you'd go? Eli asked. Aide nodded. Rail spurs that way. Gives him reach. You think he's leaving? Aide looked between them. No, I think he's gathering. The afternoon dragged. Eli tried fixing the corral, but every strike of the hammer felt too loud. Mara stayed on the porch, eyes scanning the horizon. By late day, clouds began to stack in the west, storm dark, but holding their water. The wind shifted, cooler, carrying the kind of stillness that makes animals go quiet. Mara didn't turn when she said, When he comes back, it'll be with others. You certain? He doesn't like to lose in public. Eli rested a hand on the porch rail. Then we make sure he doesn't get to win in private either. She looked at him then, something cautious but not quite distrustful in her eyes. You don't even know me. Don't have to. Night came early under the thickening clouds. The wind rose, rattling the eaves. Eli stayed near the window, the lamp turned low. Every shape beyond the fence caught his attention. Just before midnight, he saw them. Several riders this time, moving slow along the low ground, keeping to the shadowed draws. No torches, no talk, just the sound of tack shifting in the dark. He didn't call out to Mara. He didn't need to. She stepped into the room behind him, shawl pulled tight. They'll be here by morning, she said. Eli kept his eyes on the dark shapes moving across the land. I figured. The first sign was the stillness. No wind, no bird calls, not even the creak of the porch boards as Eli stepped outside. The air felt heavier than the dark clouds banked over the hills. Then the sound came, faint, muffled by the low ground. Hooves, more than one set, slow, deliberate. Mara joined him on the porch, shawl drawn close. It's time, she said. Eli nodded once. You can still stay inside. And let you face him alone? She shook her head. No. They came into view along the fence line. Caleb Holt at the front, 4 riders behind. The black horse moved like it was born for this ground, its mane lifting in the breeze that seemed to rise only for their approach. Caleb didn't speak until he was at the gate. Morning, he said, like it was nothing more than a neighborly call. Eli didn't answer. Caleb dismounted, tying the reins loose, and stepped forward. The others stayed mounted, silent, watching. You had a day to think, Mara, Caleb said. You ready to come home? Mara's voice was steady. I told you, I'm not going back. Caleb's eyes narrowed, though his tone stayed calm. You've been saying that for years. You've always changed your mind. Not this time. He took a step closer. You think he can keep you safe? She's not mine to keep, Eli said. That's right, Caleb replied. She's mine. Mara's chin lifted. I'm not property, Caleb. I never was. That's not how you talked when you… He stopped himself, jaw tightening. The air between them felt charged. One of the riders shifted in his saddle. Caleb didn't look back. This is the last time I'll ask, Caleb said. And the last time I'll say no, Mara replied. Something passed over Caleb's face. Not rage, but a realization he hadn't prepared for. He stepped back, looked at the riders, and gave a small nod. Two of them started forward. Eli stepped off the porch. You don't want to do that. One rider pulled up short, glancing at Caleb. The other kept moving until Caleb held up a hand. Stand down, Caleb said. The men looked confused. Caleb ignored it. He walked back to the black horse, resting a hand on the saddle. You've changed, Mara, he said without turning. I had to. Caleb swung up into the saddle. I hope you know what you're choosing. I do. He studied her from the saddle a moment longer, then looked at Eli. Take care of her, if you can. Without another word, he turned the horse. The others followed, dust rising in slow spirals as they headed toward the ridge. Eli watched until they were shapes against the horizon, then until they were gone entirely. Only the tracks in the dirt proved they'd been there at all. Mara let out a long breath. Her shoulders eased, but her eyes stayed on the empty ridge. You think that's the last we'll see of him? I don't know, Eli said, but I think it's the last time he'll come for you. She nodded once, as if that was enough for now. By midday, the wind had started to erase the tracks. Mara stood on the porch, watching them fade. I've been looking over my shoulder for a long time, she said. Eli leaned against the post. You don't have to here. She glanced at him, a small, tired smile forming. I know. The last of the tracks vanished under the shifting dust. The day felt lighter. For the first time in years, Mara stepped back inside without looking behind her.